All right, we're live.
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our March working meeting. So, for those of you that this might be first time to, this is just a working meeting for the council. So basically, you're just kind of sitting on the sidelines, watching us talk about some city business, some city issues. We're not voting on anything. There's no public input. This is just the council conducting its routine business. So with that, I think tonight we were planning on focusing almost the entire meeting on preparations for the beach for the summer, because thank goodness we're getting to that time of year where we got to start thinking about that. So, okay, I think the staff had some issues they wanted to walk through on this. So why don't we start going? Let's do that.
Donna, do you want to queue anything up, or do you just want me to launch into it?
You've muted, Donna.
No, go right ahead and put up the PowerPoint.
Okay. So give me a second here to share my screen. So actually, first things first, before we launch into that, I know there's been some questions from council members and also from the public as to when we are going to resume in-person council meetings. Discuss this at length with Corporation Council and the city manager, and with a number of council members. There is no definitive decision on that at this stage of the game. And I think essentially what we've been saying is, while we are seeing a reopening of the economy in many significant ways, restaurants just went to 75% on Long Island and most of New York State, exclusive of New York City. The gathering capacities have increased. Our numbers are in fact way down on orders of magnitude. We are half of where we were after the post-holiday spike in COVID that we saw. But especially with variants out there, we just want to remind folks that we are currently seeing anywhere between 115 to 140, 150 new positive cases a week in Long Beach. And to put that in context, that is almost exactly where we were during the spike of last spring. So when we were being thrust into, we are a year to the day of when the NBA shut down and when all of a sudden everything got very real with COVID. The peak of that, took place probably a month and a half, or about a month and a half after this day a year ago. We are right now where we were at that peak last year. So hospitalization numbers are down. Our hospitals are not overwhelmed. A lot of that is because the therapeutics are a lot better. Obviously, there's the numbers of vaccines are beginning to ramp up. You're starting to see availabilities on the state sites. The county is ramping up. They're going to be opening Nassau Coliseum. State's opening a number of new sites late next week. So all of these things are hopeful. I know this council is very eager to get back to normal and in-person meetings, but we don't want those meetings to turn into spreader events when we are still very much in the midst of a pandemic. We see the light at the end of the tunnel, but we just don't think it is there right now. And we still think that Zoom is a pretty inclusive way to engage the public. Folks can dial in, folks, can obviously get on their computers and ask questions from their computers. And if we have in-person meetings, we'd I think work towards to try and have a blended meeting, at least originally, but we're not limiting anybody's input at this stage of the game. So I think we're looking to err on the side of caution, regardless of the eagerness to resume to in-person council meetings, because we really are. We are where we were in the middle of last April and May, when this thing was completely out of control, forcing, essentially an economy-wide shutdown. So while we're better than where we were, we are all clearly COVID fatigued. Just want to put in context with where we currently are. And that is, seeing essentially the same numbers from a number of, from the absolute number of positive tests from where we were during the peak of last spring. So, the city manager asked me to give a little bit of an update on that. And I know a number of city council members have said, when is this happening? When it's happening? That's the current viewpoint, is still, we're not quite there yet. We are all eager. We can't wait to welcome people back into the building and see everybody live, even if it is socially distanced and spaced out and reduced numbers, but we don't think we are quite there yet. So with that said, I will move on to the beach. And COVID does have some influence over the way we're thinking about the beach moving forward for the year ahead too. But we are taking an optimistic approach about where things are going, and are hoping that life will get back to a little bit more normal, or at least our summer will be a little bit closer to normal than where we were last year. The first thing we would like to do from a staff level to introduce is the long discussed electronic beach pass solution. So as everybody here knows, for decades upon decades upon decades, the city has relied upon in-person transactions in order to purchase a physical pass to get onto the beach. There is something very quaint about that. It has served the city well for many years, but we're at a point in time, and I think this was highlighted by COVID, where other options exist out there that the city and our residents and our visitors should be able to avail themselves of. So, especially in COVID, we were in a situation last year where we had to reduce the beach occupancy to 50%. We tried a number of things to make it work, ultimately had to land on residents only over the weekends in order to control that flow. But what COVID really exposed was our inability to really manage, from a data perspective, the inflow and the outflow and the capacity of our beach, and our ability to communicate with our users of the beach. And in a pandemic, the ability to reduce sort of human touch, touch transactions. So that, combined with, long-term legacy issues of as great of a job as our ticket takers take, or our pass takers do at our beach entrances, having over the course of the year hundreds of thousands, if not more, dollars flow in cash through the hands of teenagers with lock boxes sitting in individual booths on the boardwalk. We really thought there was a way to improve the system through the introduction of different options. So late last year, after a very lengthy due diligence period to see what was out there, and an examination of how our beach sales had operated and what would be required to come up with additional options, we issued an RFP for electronic beach pass solutions for admittance and monitoring and acceptance of passes at all of our beach entrances. We got responses very late October, and then staff have evaluated all of those responses. We had four companies submit responses and proposals to the city. Staff then whittled that down to two, had follow-up presentations to the two, and then have spent really the last month or so with the top candidate, making sure that all of the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, and all of our very specific individual use scenarios were thoroughly vetted, and that we would be able to accomplish this kind of solution in a way that would work for our city. As you all know, and as we experienced last summer, Jones Beach State Park, if they're trying to limit occupancy, they just close off a parking lot. That's where their point of access is, and that's where their point of sale is really, at a parking lot. And if they reach capacity, they put up, those wooden police horses, and say, we're at capacity. For Long Beach, we have people coming in by the train, by their cars, they're circling for parking, and their point of sale for the city are the kids on the boardwalk. So after somebody's been in the car for an hour with their family of 5, they circle and search for parking for 20 minutes and then lug everything up to the boardwalk. And had a scenario last year where we were having to say, sorry, our beach is at occupancy, you can't get on. That's not the experience we want anybody to have. So this will help us manage our beaches. It can limit sales, it can shut off sales, and it also provides us with a tool to actually communicate with anybody who is logged onto the system. So I am going to hand this over. Let me stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to invite Andrew Davies from US eDirect, who is the company and the provider that was our finalist, and that would like to sort of walk you through the electronic beach pass solution that that we're proposing, and we're requesting that the City Council consider for adoption and implementation for the year ahead. So, Andrew, I will give you authority to share your screen.
All right.
Actually, you already have that authority, so go right ahead and do what you'll do.
I do, and thank you very much for having me today. I appreciate you guys giving me some of your time. Just validate you're seeing my PowerPoint background.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So I'm mindful of, you got a lot of things on your agenda today, and I'm glad that you put me up front, John. I appreciate that. So I'm going to go ahead and go through this PowerPoint, and then certainly leaving some time at the end for questions. But I'd like to introduce you to us as a company and to the digital pass solution that will be hopefully put in place with our company for the city of Long Beach. So just in terms of myself, I'm Andrew Davies. I'm the Vice President of Client Services at US eDirect. We are a Long Island-based company in Roslyn Heights, New York, but we're an international company. We do business with government across the United States, in Canada, and overseas in Australia, New Zealand area as well. And I'll show you a little bit about our background on the next slide. We've been in business over 20 years now, and we're primarily and solely focused on government recreation and parks, respectively. So beaches, parks, campgrounds, anything where you control access to location. And of course, in your case, that's a beach, and many other clients that could be parking lots, parks, etc. We've been doing for over 20 years now. And our solution is focused on a one-stop shop. So not just the app and the computer, but the website, anything at the in-person locations as well, is all integrated into the system. And what I want to walk through today is a bit of what we'll hopefully be doing for the digital pass solution for you guys. So just before I go into that, just to give you an idea of the type of customers we work with, we're in some rather large agencies across the United States. California State Park System, for example, as you might imagine, has multiple beaches along that coast where they have some rather busy demand, especially on the weekends, and it's pretty much a year-round operation given their weather. So we control passes and things like that for beach entry over there. Another one is Orange County Parks, also in California in the Los Angeles region. So as you imagine, a decent amount of traffic that would make its way there. We're going to be deploying shortly in the month of May this year, actually, the Florida State Park System. Yet again, just another example of some busy, popular beaches that we'll be managing entrances to. And we're also in places such as the entire government park system of Canada that's going to be deploying next year. We're in municipal governments in places like Nashville and St. Louis. And we're actually overseas in Australia, where there's in Queensland National Parks, some extremely busy beaches over there as well. So quite a good background in terms of the types of clients that we work with. Many of them have similar types of use cases to you guys: residency, non-residence, tracking of different types of access passes and military passes and those kind of things, all things that we're very experienced with. So what we're looking to kind of run through today is basically the app, as we call it. It's called Yodel. It's a Yodel Pass application, and tying that in with the overall solution, because there'll be other elements of just not just digital wallet and passes, but applying for residency status, applying for senior status, etc. I'll talk a little bit about all of those. But John made most of my points for me, which was great in terms of the value that we see in the digital pass solution overall. So basically now, instead of having to have those people lugging their chairs and their kids and all the stuff with them to, a dozen or so payment collecting locations across the beach area, they can do that from anywhere, whether they're on the train, whether they're in the car, whether they've just got there. So a lot of contactless self-service. They don't have to go in front of a staff person of yours. They don't have to hand money over, etc. They can go to the app and really quickly and easily make that payment, get that pass in their digital wallet, going in and spend time doing what they want to do, which is using your beach, not waiting in line to pay for your beach. That means reduced wait times and obviously improved convenience. We can't solve the problem of them driving around in their cars for an hour, but we can certainly solve the problem of how quick it is for them to purchase that pass when they get there. For your residents, it's going to be even easier because it's a digital pass wallet where they just load their season passes and they just show it each time. I'll talk to you about that soon. John mentioned a few times, unfortunately, that you had to close the beach down or limit capacity. The app allows easy communications. As you guys probably use apps in your everyday life, you get push notifications quite a lot. Same concept exists here. If you've got customers, they've got passes, you can let them know, hey, there's a weather-related issue, there's another closure-related issue, and actually send and push alerts out to those customers through the application. As mentioned by John, you had to do 50% capacity periodically, and maybe sometimes it's controlling only allowing residents on the beach. We allow the capability to basically determine how many of these can be sold in a given day and break it out as well by the types of pass. So you may say, we're going to let our residents in, and we're going to limit zero capacity for non-resident daily pass entries. If you wanted to make that decision, we let you guys handle that data. For getting in, for scanning, validation of the passes is quick and easy. We'll show you that. The staff people that you hire can just use it on their cell phone. It's literally just scanning the digital pass wallet. I'll show you a quick video of that. And it continues to work even if there's no internet connection. So even if you're in some pocket of the beach where you can't get cellular and the internet's bad, you can still scan and validate in a few methods that it's a real good to go pass. We also have an integrated website. I'll tell you why that's important shortly, but it involves being able to apply and digitize your process to review people's residency, senior status, access pass, and military statuses. So for buying a daily, I'll just want you very quickly to show a little screenshot here of a non-resident daily. It's really very low friction, as we like to call it. The idea is if you got a non-resident that's just, again, the use case of driving up and just parked, took a while. They don't want to have to put in their, their phone, email, name, address, all these different things you sometimes see. It's literally use the app, log in with your phone number. First result's going to be Long Beach, obviously, because that's where they're at. You can even search it if you're, let's say somewhere way further away. Select the type of pass, and it goes and charges your card, and it's added immediately to your wallet. You can do it in, 20, 30 seconds, especially once you've done it, once. It's a very quick and easy process. If you're a season pass holder, it's going to load that to your wallet automatically, and you just show that each time you come, every day, every weekend, whatever that might be. So let me talk to you a little bit about the digital pass wallet and check-ins. So there's a few things to understand. One of them is for ease of your staff's use, the app will be matching the colors of your physical printed passes. What those are is a tightly held secret, I understand. It's one of the colors probably within this question mark. Lips are sealed. It's for my eyes only. I'll never let anybody know that, and they're yet to be determined. But I was very much told, don't put a color on this slide. So all bets are still open. But basically, if it's whatever color in here, let's just say purple for adult. If it's some other color for senior, it will match on the app to what the physical pass is. It's going to be like a nice, easy visual identifier for the staff that is scanning this. All I need to do as a customer in my digital wallet is check in, hit the little button, and you'll notice here on the side, there's a moving QR code with a time ticking away. I took this one this morning. So for a staff person, that right away tells them it's a good, valid pass. Once they actually scan it, it's even easier to track it. But there's some things in here to make sure everyone understands that this is not been screenshotted and sent to their friends and things along those lines. So a lot of things built into the application to validate the pass. For the staff people on the beaches, it's even easier. So what they do is they simply hit scan pass. It'll open up their phone camera. Customer puts it in front of it. It works at a pretty decent range, and it will tell whether it's valid or not. That was a little quick because it's supposed to be, so I'll just rewind that video again. Customer scans it, tells them it's valid. Thank you very much. Wave them on and they're into the beach. It works from a good distance. It'll also track, for example, if it's been used before. So in this particular example, it'll scan it, and it'll tell the staff person it's invalid. So there's capabilities within the system built in for tracking that information. It works offline. It's a quick QR code scan. But like I mentioned, let's say their phone ran out of battery. Let's say they dropped the phone in the ocean and they're literally just without devices. They can use the things built into the solution in terms of the moving QR code, the day's color, the time to validate it. Tied to this overall concept, switching gears ever so slightly here, is to date, and this will still remain if it's something that customers of yours want to do, you have done in-person verification or mailed-in verification potentially of, are they a resident, are they a senior, are they a military person, do they have rights for an access pass, etc. Our system has an online application digital approval process built into it. What that gives is a little bit of additional flexibility to the customers, a little bit more convenience. For example, if I want to prove to you that I'm a resident of the city of Long Beach, I can continue to do what I do today or last year. But another solution that we'll be adding is log onto the website, upload a picture of my driver's license, for example, or other documents that you guys want them to load up, submit it in the system. Long Beach staff can review it. You'll see an application fulfillment screen here on the right. Typically, it's as quick as click the view, take a look at the driver's license. It says City of Long Beach. It looks valid. Hit the little approve button. The customer gets an email automatically that says you've been approved. They can buy their pass and they get instructions of how to load that into the digital wallet. All things can be done, remotely from home. Again, it's another example of ways that we can, aid in social distancing and not have an in-person transaction. And they can do that soon, as soon as we publish the website. They don't have to wait for, the last minute and queue up in a long line, etc. For the city, one of the key things that John mentioned as well is the tracking and the automation of the data that you get with the system. So I got a couple of screenshots here. This is within the app. This is within the report. This is San Buenaventura Beach in California. Some really cool bits of information about busyness by time of day that may be harder to get when you've got people just doing manual entry tracking. So you'll know your peaks, your busyness. Obviously, you guys are pretty aware that 8, 9 a.m. in the morning on Saturday and right around lunchtime is a pretty busy time. But this is going to give you the actual metrics tied to that. And it can also let you know how things are going in terms of are we filling up a bit quickly, in terms of are we going to need to potentially limit capacity for the afternoon, etc. It'll give you that information in real time. The other thing that it does, of course, is the payments are all tracked. So one of the things that's a little bit more difficult with a lockbox cash-based operation is tracking all the money changing hands. The system is obviously going to be doing credit card payments. This allows everything to be tracked. Everything gets a transaction, a journal receipt, something you can audit, something your financial folks can review. And it removes that need for cash handling and puts it into a secure app-based payment in a digital wallet. So overall, in terms of customer experience is quicker and easier. Your staff's experience is really very limited training, really easy scanning process. Not a lot you need to really worry about there. And from a central management perspective, stats reporting, financial data, etc., is all integrated into the overall solution. And then we're also adding those avenues of not just the dailies and putting the wallet, but some of the other things that come with proving that you're a resident can be also taken and made digital through our overall solution. So you guys are a little limited on time, so I didn't want to spend too much on the presentation here. So I'd like to, John, I think I'll just open it up for questions from everyone. That's good.
Yeah, by all means.
Okay, I got a couple of questions. As far as verification of residency, you said like they could upload a license or something like that. But if I had a friend that lived somewhere else on Long Island and I let him use my license to upload to buy his pass, he's getting a resident rate. Why isn't it tied to the credit card address that they would be tying to the account?
It's a great question. So the issue with tying it to the credit card address, so therefore you would have a customer account with, let's say my address was in Long Beach and my credit card was also in Long Beach, is by doing that, you actually cause some issues for your non-residents. If you put in something that says, hey, your payment must match your credit card address, then that system is set up in the system. And so, for example, that's good for validating your residency, but it may be a deterrent for the many non-residents if, for example, my address is my new apartment and my credit card is tied to my old apartment, things like that. So we had that thought. We ran through that particular use case and saw that there's potentially some more issues with that. Now, one of the things to mention, that's a very good question in terms of you giving it to your buddy, is we can also flag it that the first time they arrive, you should do a visual validation. So, John, in your case there, if you gave it to your buddy, the first time that they're scanned in, you can tell the system to tell the staff person, hey, give a check of their driver's license, make sure this is the same person. So we do have some checks and balances built into it as well.
Okay.
And the other option on that, Mr. Bendo, is it's been the long-standing policy of Beach Park that there is a maximum of 3 residential seasonal family passes sold per household per year, but there's never been a system in place to limit that. This could potentially limit that, if the city so chose.
Okay. My other question is there a flat fee for your service, or is there a per transaction fee? How do you get paid?
There is a per transaction fee for purchasing of a daily pass and any other pass within the system. I'm not sure whether I'm allowed to say it or not. It's within our RFP submittal, but it's a fixed flat fee.
Yeah, I mean, I will say it's relatively for anybody who is used to going, so this is part of what the agreement that the city manager would have to enter into and negotiate with them. But what we are talking here is relatively de minimis. Anyone that's bought a Ticketmaster online and has gotten a 10% charge, we're not talking anything.
So are we talking comparable to a credit card transaction fee?
A little bit more than, we're talking maybe a couple of bucks, like is what we're talking for, a purchase of a pass.
Okay. All right. I think I'm good for the moment.
I have, if I can, I just have 2 questions and 1 point of clarification. Just point of clarification, this is not in lieu of a physical pass. This would be supplemental to that because we have people that collect the passes every year. So this wouldn't make those obsolete, correct?
Correct.
Okay. The 2 questions I have. First, would payment be allowed through Venmo or PayPal, or would it only be by credit card?
That's a very good question. Currently, and for this first summer, it'll be by credit card. We are looking at some of the more app-based payments for the future, though.
And would that be certain credit cards or all major credit cards? Like,
it is the ones.
Would it be limited to MasterCard? Or?
I'm sorry to talk over you. It'll be the ones that the city accepts. So our system basically will pass through that directly to the city's merchant services account.
Yeah. So we would be using our merchant services, Councilman Mandel, and currently we do not accept American Express, but most other major credit cards we do.
Okay. And last question, Mr. Davies, you briefly went over what would happen if I go to the beach and my phone is disabled. How would I still be able to verify? You touched upon it. I just wanted to maybe get a little more clarification.
I just want to make sure you broke up slightly there. You're working at the beach?
Actually, I'm going to turn off my video because I'm having a little bandwidth problem that might make it a little easier. But if my phone is disabled and I have the digital wallet, is there still a way that I could verify that I purchased the pass if I'm unable to use my phone or if my phone becomes disabled?
Well, that's a bit of an issue when the digital wallet's on your phone and the phone's completely disabled. However, we can deploy point of sale terminals, computers at the locations you have today. For example, if you have it at the gazebo or trailer or anything like that, they could potentially look up that you did make a payment and that you are valid. But the main form of validity will be on your phone.
Okay, thank you.
I
Yeah,
have.
and Scott, I mean, I'm sorry, Karen, Scott, if you were just, if you were offline, you would still be able to retrieve the pass. So, I mean, the real limitation here is if your phone completely conks out, gets, dumped into the ocean, you forgot to take it out of your pocket. We've run into some challenges there.
My concern would be if somebody's inadvertently, their battery dies or something happens, is there a safety net? Yep. Okay, thank you.
Hi, this is Karen McInnes from the City Council. I want to thank you for your presentation. I really appreciate it. I have two questions for you, Andrew, and I think two questions for the staff. So I'll start out with you, Andrew. My first question has to do with data privacy. As you know better than me, the EU has GDPR compliance. So I was wondering if you could explain what that is for the general population and how your company addresses that in non-EU countries, i.e. the US.
Sure. Yeah, so that's a good question. So basically, well, first off, we only work with government clients. So the same concerns you have are the same concerns the states and the national system like the Parks of Canada, for example, have, and our federal Forest Service clients as well. So we work with governments from city all the way up to feds. The same concept applies across the board. So we will be hosting your data at a secure Amazon Web Services data center. It is only your customer information. We don't share it. We don't market to it. We don't download it and send them emails about other services that we offer. It's purely for the use of your solution. If those customers want to opt out entirely of being within the system database, they can do so. If they want to opt out of marketing, let's say you guys decided you wanted to market to them, they can opt out. And if they want to completely have their data removed, we have the capability to purge that information as well, should we so wish. We're seeing a little bit more of that uptick of late the last few months with these requests. Again, it's all things that we've come across pretty frequently. We have about certain clients have probably 1 million or so plus customers in their database. So a lot of these things exist with a lot of our clients.
Very good. My second question has to do with implementation. Here you come in, you sweep in, and then our staff is left. We have a go live date, and then you're gone. So I assume you're not going to do that, right?
I was going to say I was nodding along, but I was really trying to disagree with you at the same time. So a couple of things. This is publicly available. My name is on this video.
Mm-hmm.
You saw the company name. You saw we're in Long Island. There's not really anywhere we can go to escape. And basically, we're very invested in this business with you guys. This is our business. You're in our industry. And the locality of this is something that makes us even more interested. I mean, our company president has visited the beach. He says for work-related reasons to try to work on this. It was in February, so maybe he was true. But we're local. I mean, we plan to come down there for meetings and things like that. But the idea of this is a long-term partnership, right? We don't make money if you guys aren't selling passes in the system. It's going bad. We're not making money. If you pull the plug, we're making no money. So
okay, very good.
Being an issue.
Andrew, I would just, Karen, before you continue, Andrew, your audio has been kind of coming in and out a little bit. So I don't know, whatever adjustment you need to make there, if you could, please.
For my next set of questions is for the staff in general. Can you give us some insights on your conversations with other clients of this company, i.e. San Buenaventura, California, for example? Like you had to probably check references. What did you learn about this company?
Sure. I mean, I have, and Joe has too, so I'd invite Joe to come on. I mean, part of the challenge is a number of the municipalities that we spoke with over the past year completely shut down over the course of the past year because of COVID. California completely shut down. So right at the point of a lot of these things ramping up and getting, adjusted to the systems, they're newer clients. they ran into the roadblock of COVID and the same thing. But you know, to a person that at least I spoke with, I checked out two of the references myself, and I know that Joe spoke with another two. They had all, you know, the company had been very responsive. They delivered the product. They delivered the product when, you know, when they promised to deliver the product, and that the solution worked for them.
Very good.
Because we are Long Beach, we think we are special. You know, and I think we've run Andrew and his team through the ringer because, quite frankly, we are special. We have a very complicated use pattern here in Long Beach. Not just all of the different types of passes, but, you know, we have nearly 40 entrances, gateways to the beach. And we have a situation where people are coming on and off the beach throughout the day. So, you know, this creates a unique situation, regardless of who the vendor we were dealing with, that they were going to have to adapt to our specific uses. We don't think we're going to get this 100% in year one. But, you know, I would say between, you know, 50 to 60 or 70% of the passes that are sold every year are non-resident daily passes, just by sheer number. You know, another 15 to 20% are resident family season passes. If we can nail those two in the first year, you know, and if we run into some bugs on the other ones, and we, you know, I mean, we hope not to, but if we can nail those two, we're going to be in really good shape with this solution moving forward. And I think on a staff level, we're pretty comfortable. I mean, we've run these guys through the ringer. You know, this has taken longer than we have wanted it to and hoped to. But it's because we really wanted to make sure that we were as comfortable as we could get. This is a big leap. This is an exciting leap for the city. This is a transformational change for how the city has operated over, you know, decades. So we want to make sure, to the degree that we're able, that we've got it right, and that we've got this nailed down, and that we've thought through every eventuality, and that we're comfortable that the vendor that we're recommending to the council is the right vendor. Nothing's going to be 100%, but, you know, we're as comfortable as we can get.
I want to thank you and the staff again for all your hard work on this. I have full confidence in the staff that this will be a successful implementation, and I'm really very excited for it. My last question is, has the city considered, and could the city consider, some sort of partnership in terms of phone charging stations near entrances? Because I am not perfect, and sometimes I let my phone die. You know, so I'll get on the beach and I'll try to go back home to my house, but my phone died and I can't get back in. So I just asked, not, you don't need to answer now, but maybe there's some way we can consider solar powered phone charging stations.
I think, you know, so as you intimated, I don't really have an answer, and that's something we'll have to take back and discuss internally. But what I will say is, so one of, you know, the upfront cost for the city, and really the only true hard costs on this, and we hope that this provides a long-term savings for the city, obviously, and a realization of revenues that may have been missed through inefficiencies or lack of procedures. But one of the upfront investments that the city will have to make is that of purchasing cell phones, very basic cell phones, but the cell phones are used as the scanning devices on a staff end. So we've already thought through how we're going to be, you know, that's a challenge to make sure that 37 beach entrances have fully charged phones on a daily basis. So that's, I think, going to be part and parcel. You know, we will address and meet, you know, that challenge. And in meeting that challenge, we may answer the question that you just asked as well. We'll see how it goes.
Great. Thank you very much.
You bet.
All right. Any other, Mike?
Well, I was going to wait for Liz, and then I would go last if Liz has any questions.
Not at this time. Again, I just want to thank the staff and Andrew for your work. I'll follow up after you.
Andrew, what is the closest beach park to the 11561 zip code that uses this technology? Or basically, is there another location in New York State that currently uses this, whether it's the park or a beach?
Not currently in New York State, no. The closest we have some agency with Massachusetts DCR was working on our system last year, but they ran out of time because they started working on it in basically August for the beaches that closed in September. But that was one of the ones that's nearest. And then if you're looking at the map geographically, it's going to be the Florida park system. We seem to be rather heavily spread out across the U.S. rather than any particular pockets.
So when you mention the park system, would like the Florida park system also include a beach park?
Many.
Or is it more like a New York State park upstate in the rural country?
No, they're very beach heavy.
Okay.
They are a little bit more like what John's use case was, which is many of them are based on vehicles, based on the fact, you drive off the highway and get to them. So it's not as urban as the city of Long Beach's entrances are, but they are extremely busy.
Now, the people that use the readers in these beach park locations, typically our beach park attendants that would be viewing and scanning and reading are generally less than 18 or maybe 55 or older, at least from my visual viewpoint. When I'll look, for example, a 15-year-old person who's a beach park attendant, they would have to have a cell phone to read this particular app.
That's correct.
In your opinion, would the cell phone that's being distributed to this individual be able to be restricted so it can only call a particular phone number or two to their supervisor and or 911 or the police department?
Yeah, I mean, what we're looking at, Mike, is quite frankly stripping it down to they can only use this app on that particular phone. They have radios to communicate with supervisors and police department if need be. They have that means.
Right.
What we are looking to do is, I mean, we're looking at, this has to be like, a smartphone. We're looking at procuring, iPhone SEs, which is the most stripped down basic model, and putting a lock on it where this app is the only thing that can be used on that phone.
Okay. I usually have a difficult time when I'm on the beach and it's sunny out, attempting to read my phone for whatever reason, the sun, the glare. What prevents a person from trying to read the app and not being able to be read because it's in the sun, the angle? Is there a particular cover that's needed to read the app?
You got a flip phone, Mike?
No. Actually, I actually worked for the analog to digital conversion, so I know there's certain issues with that. I actually have
No, I mean, honestly, because that's what, the pass shows by color first, and then you ask them to press on it, and then, it's going to show in black and white. So the differentiation should not pose a problem.
Has this been tested here?
I mean, it's been tested in the sun.
But on the Boardwalk?
Yeah, no, I mean, I have the app on my phone, and I've, brought it up and viewed it. But I mean, I also don't, in the hot glaring sun, I get what you're saying.
Right.
But most of our ticket takers, have an umbrella or they are in a booth, and the scanner should not be affected by this regardless. So even if, it's a glaring sun and, the scanner will still be able to do the scanner's job.
That's exactly where I'm going with this one. And, I could see it for a daily beach pass access. I'm not sure on an annual family type of pass. How do you
I know where you're going. You want me to jump in?
Yeah, go ahead, John.
So, I mean, and Andrew can back me up on this. So you buy a seasonal family pass, which entitles you to 2 adult and any number of kids under 13, and you'd have to purchase extra for kids over.
Mm-hmm.
You will be able to on a daily basis. So it will be you have 2 adult passes for that day. You want to send it to your wife, you'll be able to send 1 pass to your wife. So you're not with her, you can send her that 1 pass. That pass is valid for that day. You are now left with only 1 adult pass on your phone. Both of you will be allowed, unlimited children, under the age of 13, because that's free regardless. For anything that's over, you want to come in and buy a daily residential 10-pack of passes, you'll have 10 passes that you can share out to the phones. Each one that you send out is going to be valid for that day and gone from your wallet. It can't be given back to you. You've made that commitment, and there will be a warning. You're making this move. You can't unmake this move. You're sending this pass to somebody. It will belong to them, and it's no longer in your possession. So you will be able to share like the component pieces of your passes.
When this is set up, when you're sharing a pass to a family member, do you have to preload that cell phone number in the app? So
it will only be shareable, so they will need to download the app. Their cell phone, and Andrew, again, jump on me if I misspeak. Their account with the app will be predicated on their phone, and it will only be valid through the account that has that phone number.
That's correct. Yep,
okay.
Spot
on. Should this move forward, hypothetically, would there be a test run prior to this, or are you going to roll out on day 1, Memorial Day weekend? Here we go.
No, I mean we're looking at, and Andrew can speak to it in more specificity if he wants, but the entire month leading up to it is essentially the test period. So one of the benefits of going with USD Direct is this is not their it's not their first rodeo, right, so to speak. So the website platform is kind of a off the shelf website platform that they just need to repopulate with our looks and graphics and what have you, and then the particulars that we want in order to customize for our different types of passes. But that's off the shelf. The app processes are slightly more complicated, but not that much more complicated. But what we're looking to do is, the same time that our beach sales, so they'll be testing it throughout the entire month of what is it, May, March? Yeah, May. Where we'll be doing dummy passes and scanning and doing all of that. From the user experience, though, beach passes normally go on sale in May. You'll be able to go onto the website, upload your documents the same way that you would typically wait on the line at the trailer or at the gazebo. Say, here's my license, here's my proof of residency. You'll be able to do that. You'll be able to download the app, but then obviously your passes are not going to be valid until, we get to the end of May, right? June, when the beach opens, so they're not going to be valid until, it's time to open the beach. And, but yeah, we have basically a month-long testing period built into this.
And to Scott Mandel's question, that's something that I know it's an RFP, it's not yet known, but the transaction fee.
Yep. No, I mean, and that's subject to negotiation, is with the city manager, and the other, just to, sort of belie your points too, is we know how nostalgic everybody in Long Beach is. We know there's a certain right to waiting on that line and, collecting those cards. We've tried to sort of memorialize that by making sure that the passes on the app are going to be the same color as the physical passes that people get. But that option still exists. You want to go buy the physical pass, you can still go buy the physical pass in the same way that we used to do it. But we're giving people more options here that we're pretty excited about. We anticipate there's potentially going to be some stumbles along the way as anything like this goes, but we're feeling pretty good about it.
And John, the metrics that are established in this app, if we delineated that there's 15 or 16 locations that are accepting, or 25 locations, is this app capable of tracking entrances per location?
Absolutely. So we will know where people scanned in to go to the beach.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Of course.
I was interested in Commissioner Gillespie's point of view on this.
Chief, the commissioner's on the other side.
I thought they were just saying you were commissioner.
No, the commissioner is the police guy. The chief is the patrol guy.
Can I just ask everyone?
I'll just call you all boss.
Everyone that's not chatting, if they could just mute, because there's a lot of feedback popping back and forth.
What do you think, Chief?
What's about the new way to get on the beach here?
Yes, sir.
You know what? It's probably a lot better than the stuff we were using, because the people were passing the cards around and to go off the beach and give them to their friends, and that's where we had a lot of problems, especially down west last year with the younger people. Hopefully this year we'll be able to squash a lot of that stuff and make it a more pleasant beach days.
Thank you.
I got it. One. So if we're planning on getting cell phones for the ticket takers, we're obviously going to need two issues there. We're going to need some inventory control on those things, because at $450 a pop for an SE, it's an investment. The other thing is, we also have specials and police officers, obviously, that do spot checks on the beach. Do they already have cell phones, and we just have to load the app, or would that also require purchasing some additional phones for those people as well?
I mean, so we're looking at the initial purchase of approximately 50 phones. The first quote that we got in was meaningfully less than the 450.
Well, that's good to hear.
I guess quantity and buying in bulk has its benefits.
Yeah.
So the 50 would, I think, cover. It would cover the specials as well. There would be a certain amount allocated to whoever's on doing the beach sweeps. I do not know. We'd have to either check with Commissioner Walsh or Joe Brand or whoever's overseeing the specials, whether they've got. I don't believe that they get phones issued by the department or the city. And we wouldn't want people using their personal phones for business purposes. So we would provide them with it for this purpose. And as you know, the city has contracts with T-Mobile and potentially other providers. So, because that seems to be what works best on the beach in Long Beach, because we have a bunch of dead zones. But we've put requests out there for all the major providers and are seeing what comes back, and we're doing reception tests, over the course of the next few weeks.
And just one, and this is sort of related to this, but not specific to Andrew's product, is because of now we're going to be doing some cellular-based sales here. Have we considered talking, if we're going to use T-Mobile, talking to them about putting some repeaters down on the boardwalk to boost the signal down there?
Not at this time. What we have done is that T-Mobile is said to be the one cellular company that works very well on the West End. We were also looking at AT&T and Verizon. We can't go to a cellular company until we get past the first stage to make sure everything works. And then that could be a second phase. The question about the number of cell phones, we're looking to get the best rate. Everything is negotiable. And that's why we wouldn't give what the transaction fee is, because once you decide that this is the company we should go, Andrew and I will sit down and negotiate the transaction fee. And we will do the same with getting the cell phones. We will try to get the best rate for the cell phones, and we will get more cell phones than we need so that we can make sure that if people need to go and spot check on the beach, that they can. Also, you need to be aware that this is not an extra budget cost because you budgeted, well, we have budgeted to buy so many passes for the year. We will be cutting that in half. So the half that we're saving from paying for the beach passes that people collect will be used to purchase the cell phones.
Okay. All right. We've spent almost an hour on this, so maybe we should wrap up and move on. Unless Liz, you didn't throw any questions out. You got anything before we move on?
No, I think that it'll eventually save us money because we have all been witness to I'm on the beach. Everybody goes, here's 10 passes, go back and hand them off to your friends.
That's absolutely right. That's what happens.
Yeah. All right. Well, John, are we basically done with this one?
I believe so, yeah. I mean, and I'll just assure you, I don't know. That was the heaviest of the list tonight. So we spent an hour. I think it was an hour well spent. This is
well, this is important.
This is a big move for the city.
We want to make sure we get it right if we're going to do it.
And I appreciate you not showing the color of the beach pass.
Believe me, I know better than that now.
I won't say that maybe the right beach color was in a draft of Andrew's PowerPoint, and maybe he got it asked to be taken out, which is
yes,
a multicolored question mark.
And I'm not going to know what it is until everyone else does. Don't worry about it.
All right. Thanks a lot, Andrew. You can likely go about your night now. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you.
Well, I appreciate everyone's time. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Andrew.
So next up, I think we had Chief Gillespie talking on a couple of points about when lifeguards are coming on duty and when they begin, and a few discussion items that he wanted to engage the council on with respect to lifeguard management of the beach.
Yeah, we're going to open up Memorial Day weekend. This is the 29th of May. That's just for weekends until June 26th, and then we go full time. There's a few things I would just like to discuss to get your opinions on. We have quite a few fishermen down there, and the biggest thing I think is to make sure that everybody that comes on our beach has the beach pass. And that's where because people come on a lot earlier than when we're there. And I think we have to figure out some way, have somebody go around and check everybody's pass. They were talking about permits for the fishermen, but I really think if they have a beach pass, I think that would be suffice. Instead of going through all the trouble of getting permits and maybe have to go through the state. I don't know. We have never done it before. But through the years, there's been more and more fishermen down there. And the reason I would like to have no fishing between the hours of 9 and 6 when the people are down there swimming on the weekends. And during the week, I guess they have full, carte blanche. They go in there and they fish whatever they want. As you remember from last year, we had a lot of problem with sharking down there, a lot of sharks. But if you went down there like I did early in the morning, there's a couple of guys that are driving out, rowing out in kayaks and throwing chum in the water. And that, of course, in a few hours will bring especially last year, I don't know what the problem was with all the sharks that were there, but there were quite a few. And as you know, we closed the beach several times during the day a lot. So I think that has to be addressed. There's a few guys on the beach that like to pull in the sharks when people are there, which I don't think is too good because I don't think the people the word would get out that we're allowing that, and then we would lose customers. So, are there any questions about that, about the fishermen getting permits or?
I think this is Liz.
Yes,
I
Liz.
think there was already I remember being, I hate to age myself, but when we were kids and we went fishing there, and a police officer would come by, and he would say, "You can't take." They would measure how big your fish was, and you had to put it back. And they would. I thought they actually asked for a license.
We have called the state last year, and they came down, but they said they do not have enough officers between the whole strip of the East Coast there that we're on to cover everything. So, when you call them on Tuesday, they might not get there till Friday. That's the problem you have with that. So we have to come up with, are we going to give summons for guys that are fishing and pulling in sharks? Because they say, oh, I just caught it. But there's a lot of stuff going on early in the morning, like I said, that maybe we have to look at a little closer if this happens again.
Rich Barrios, can we get something on the books that they can't fish on the weekends, at least?
Between 9 and 6.
What's the holdup to make that happen?
I don't know about that.
There wasn't a holdup. It needed to be talked about first, and it has to be agreed upon by the council that that's what they want to do.
Paul?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Donna, go ahead.
No, I said there wasn't a holdup. It has to be agreed upon first before we put it on the books or make it into to add it so that the public knows that that's the rules that we're going to be enforcing. That's why we're bringing it up tonight.
And so we can each give you a call, and then we'll take it from there.
Repeat that again, Karen. What'd you say?
So should each council member give you a call to discuss, and then we'll take it from there?
Yes.
Thank you.
Does anyone know any of the local fishermen so we could get their take on what they think is best?
Well, Liz, I think if you ask a fisherman, they're going to tell you, in my opinion, anytime the fish are biting, they want to fish and catch. But I think what I want to ask Paul, Chief, a couple of questions.
Sure, go right ahead, Michael.
If you limit it to weekends, I mean, if you don't allow fishing at all on weekends, and it's a very cloudy day, it's 65 degrees, not many people are on the beach or are going to the beach, yet their fish are biting. Is that a discretionary decision for
Yes,
the to make?
I will. It's just like we do with the surfing.
Right.
If it's a cloudy day, there's no one on the beach, we open the beach to the surfers because
Right.
if there's waves, they're going to want to do it. And then when we ask them, hey, you know what? We got a lot of people coming down. Will you please get out of the water? Then they oblige us and they get out of the water. Same thing with the fishermen, We're going to let them, we're not going to be, believe me, fishing in this community is a big sport for these guys. They love it. So, and it gives them something to do. And we don't want to take that from them.
Yeah.
But you know what? It comes to a safety factor. When people are stepping on hooks, which did last year a couple of times, we don't want that to happen. And so I think if we limit and we control it and take the beach back to where we should have it, and, I think it'll work out a lot better for everyone.
Yeah, when I was on the beach years and years or decades ago, in the morning when there was nice waves, I would allow the surfers to surf, but telling them as soon as it gets crowded, I'm going to blow you in. You got to listen. And usually there was a good relationship, it was a personal relationship with the person who's on the beach and the surfer, because they know you were allowing them a little bit more time, but you would be hard on them if they ever disobeyed. Now, with the fishing, obviously I've seen it early in the morning where people are on the jetty, near the end of the jetty,
Absolutely.
fishing.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't be on the jetty at all.
But that's Mike. Sometimes that's it. I get on the beach sometimes 6:37, and they're out there.
Right.
And you know what? Do we have the authority to pull them right off?
Yeah. At that hour, you're just a personal. You're doing your morning exercise. I'll call it. Let's say. but I know you've spotted people in trouble early in the morning as well.
Yes, I have. Last year, we pulled those couple of people out there walking on the, I spotted them walking on the boardwalk, and there's a lot of people on the beach early in the morning that we don't realize, and they could get in a little trouble like what happened last year.
Yeah, I would defer to your advice to us or me to individually of how I know there's a fishing issue, and I think
I'll tell you what happened last year. We went down to Ohio, and it was about I think it was about 8 o'clock, and it was 13 fishermen on that one beach. I guess the fish were biting, but that's just too many on a beach, especially on a weekend. So
Right.
I said to Richie Borowski, the assistant, that we have to do something about this, and this is where it all came from. We do not want to take anything from anybody, but we want to control it, make it a safe environment for everybody that comes to our beaches. That's the most important thing. And even the surfers, we take care of them too. We let them in the water. If the water's big and we close it, we always let it's been a practice for, I would say, 30 to 40 years doing that.
Yeah, and I'm sure they've saved countless lives that we don't even know about.
They are great. They really are. They've saved hundreds and hundreds of lives by putting, especially after hours, before hours that we're not there. They've been a big help. And through the years, we've developed a better relationship with the surfers. And what we want to do with the fishermen, we don't want to hurt the fishermen. We want to make it safe.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay. All right, let me see what else we have here.
So sight lines from the lifeguard stands, Chief.
Oh, yes, that's true. We had that. We have a little problem with the, as you know, if you've been down the beach, there's a lot of tents going up, tents and little this, and the people are having parties. That's fine, but they're a little, and our city manager was the one that really pointed this out when we take we take the rides on the beach, and she said, hey, these people are up a little too close. How do you spot things from the chair? Lucky we have the chairs on mounds, but I think we have to put a couple of poles maybe in the middle of the where we can keep the people that are in those big tents, keep them back away from the shoreline, because if most of the people like to get up there to the shoreline with their kids, and so, we're going to do something to prevent the people from going all the way down by the shoreline with their tents. They're going to have them and the umbrellas, and let them walk down there instead of having everything right on the shore, which is, it does restrict people from walking there too, believe it or not. They're down there so close to the water. So we're going to put a little pole maybe on each beach and see how it works out. Of course, everything we do for the first time on the beach, it's always, we're going to try this and see if it works. If that doesn't work, we try another thing. Right. So hopefully we'll get that done and it'll work. Keep the people back. I don't know if there's any laws or anything with all these tents they're taking down there, because people have they like to come in to stay for a week, with some of the tents there the way they put on the beach. So hopefully, we'll get this problem rectified, and we'll make it again a little safer for the people that are on the beach. That's what we do. Everything we try to do is for safety. That make sure everybody that comes from the beach goes home from the beach.
All right, so just for clarification, when you were talking about putting poles down, so basically we're probably talking about some signage here, right? That basically says, no umbrellas or tents, beyond this line.
This came about last year, and we will get it straightened out if we're going to use signs or a colored pole. Just like when we tried to initiate this colored flag with the red and the green and the yellow flags, It took us a little while for the people to understand, but now they get it, that the surfing beaches are the yellow and the green, you can't go in the water. And if it's all red, you can't go in the water. Same thing is going to happen with the sight line that we call it from the chair. So we'll try to make adjustments for this to make it better.
And would that sight line, would that apply only between the flags? Because obviously a lot of people sit outside of the flags.
Yeah,
as
well, we're gonna put them, and we could have the lifeguards keep an eye on it when they're in the chair, and if they see anybody, they call an officer. The officer come down and they, excuse me, they move them, and hopefully the poles will work again. It's going to take a while before the people will get adjusted for them, like it always does, So
yeah, okay,
it's going to take some time. But
we still got. Sorry, Chief. We still got quite a bit more to cover tonight. Anyone else have anything for Chief?
I know Karen asked a question about fishing hours, and I think Donna responded to it. But essentially, I think the only fishing limitations we have on the books right now apply to the municipal pier. And like Donna said, we can basically coordinate back and forth to see if there's some regulations or restrictions we can put on shore fishing that might make sense. And as to the tent issue, I think there's actually nothing on the books with regard specifically to tents, but the line of sight issue is a safety issue, Chief. And I believe you have the authority to clear those, those lines of sight if you need to.
Thank you. The other thing is, there's one last thing I want to go over is the volleyball. Again, this is like a national sport in Long Beach because of the beach.
I think, actually, Chief, I think Joe Brand's going to talk about volleyball a little bit later.
I was just going to talk about the pickup games. We're going to try to designate with Joe, like I've taken a couple of rides with Joe on the beach already about the volleyball, but we'll do it again, and then we'll get back to you on the beaches that we could play.
Chief, cannot wait to get back out on the beach with you. Looking forward to it.
All righty.
All right. Thank you much. Next up is Joe Brand. That's going to give a little bit overview of where we're thinking where Ocean Beach Park is for the year ahead.
Yes, indeed. Before jumping into the report, I'd just like to take a second to acknowledge the passing of Mr. Carroll and share on behalf of the Department of Parks and Recreation our deepest condolences to his family. I think everyone knows how much recreation meant to Mr. Carroll. It shouldn't be lost. And it should certainly be noted how much Bob meant to all of us. You'll be missed, Mr. Carroll. Rest in peace. I guess the easiest place for me to begin is to pick up where we left off last week in our meetings and negotiations with the Long Island Railroad and the upcoming beach season and what visitor availability may or may not look like. It's our belief that some type of capacity restriction or limitation will exist, at least to start the beach season. In fact, it's very well looking like we may be at the same 50% restriction that existed to close the 2020 summer beach season to start it up this year. All of this obviously has an effect on plans for how we move forward with events, activities, races, and as Paul just alluded to, volleyball. Our plan, or multiple plans, if you will, call for modified approaches to get this community obviously as active and engaged as we were a couple of summers ago. If last summer taught us anything, it's to be prepared to improvise. So we hope, we're confident, and like anyone else that listens to the latest reports that come from the state offices and from the Nassau County offices, that the restrictions will continue to be expanded. We're optimistic that, number one, we will be in a position where we can begin to look to expand availability for some of the time-honored events and traditions that people are accustomed to taking part with here in the summer. But we also have to make sure that these are things that are done as carefully as possible and certainly don't turn into any type of spreader events that could set us back. In a nutshell, that's where we're at. day by day. We go through information that's provided to us, and we improvise with plans with how we plan to move forward, and again get this community as actively engaged as we can for the upcoming summer. We do anticipate some restrictions, and I think people are okay with that, whether it's going to be a residents only type thing on the weekends again, or we'll wait and see. But that was the message that we provided to the railroad last week. We couldn't lock into anything specific with allowing visitor availability to people from outside of the community without first making sure that we know we're going to be able to take care of our own. So that's basically where I'm at with the upcoming summer. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
So, Joe, we're going to start 7 days a week on June 26th is the plan?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the regular beach park season is our full intention.
Okay.
Hi, Joe. This is Liz. I know last year about the volleyball, the leagues, is that still an option?
Yes. Look, the big obstacle when it came to volleyball was the passing of volleyball from a high risk activity to a moderate risk activity. It's now permissible to play the sport on the beach. It'll be our responsibility to set up league play and recreational play so as to not impede on the usable space that we have available to our customers, number one, and number two, and probably more importantly, to do it in such a way that it's not going to become a spreader event, that it's going to be safe, that it's going to be well supervised, and that whatever rules and guidelines we put in place are strictly adhered to.
Has there been any chatter yet regarding maybe too early surfing tournaments and or volleyball tournaments?
Tournaments, I would categorize them under events, and as you know, they'll be viewed on an individual basis like anything else. We haven't had anybody approach us yet for anything significant from a surfing tournament standpoint. The volleyball kind of the leagues and the operators kind of go hand in hand in terms of tournament play. And again, once the rules kind of shake out of as far as where we'll be available to host whether weekend tournaments of volleyball, it'll be up to them to decide whether or not it's worthwhile for them to make the investment into hosting that. There's traditional surf contests that take place, the Scoot and Surf Week, the Unsound event that takes place in September. I haven't heard from either one of those parties yet. I'd be willing to believe that they'd be looking to resurrect those events after missing them last summer. But again, once we know what our guidelines are, what our limitations are, then we can work to either facilitate these events or, again, put them on a back burner because they're not something that can take place, to the effect that they like to host them.
Yeah, and I would just jump in there too of like, we know a lot more than we knew last summer, and we have a lot more guidance than we did last summer on this stuff. So,
yep.
This season is not likely to be what things were pre-2020. But I think we're relatively confident that we'll be able to pull off some things in some different ways so that we're not repeating 2020. So we'll be inching back to normalcy, if not doing better than inching. There's some things that I think we're relatively confident about that we'll be able to pull off in a safe and successful way. But it's still going to come down to ultimately where the state and the county come down with their guidance. But we have enough guidance, and we see where the tea leaves are going that we think we're headed in the right direction.
I just want to comment for consideration, not to be the bad cop, but I hope that we continue to evaluate events on a cost neutral basis to the city as much as possible.
Rest assured, Karen. Rest assured.
Thank you.
That is number one.
Donna might chime in there, but yes, don't you worry about it. Don't you worry about it.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
Make sure it's cost effective.
Yep. No, there's P&Ls being run on every event that the city does, by all means.
Music to my ears.
I'd like to thank the city council for the great lifeguard headquarters we have now. And hopefully it'll be up and running in a couple of weeks as soon as they're finished with it.
I think I'd like to take credit, but that was FEMA.
Yeah, but it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort to put in for it and get it.
Years in the making. Joe Fabrizio, Joe Mirando, DPW have done a yeoman's job following this through. We lost a number of structures on the boardwalk, and this is the last one to finally come back. So awesome.
Yeah.
It's John Mirando. You called him Joe.
Yeah.
I did Joe Fabrizio, John Mirando. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. You got.
We have more than a few Johns in the city, so maybe I was trying to eliminate one. Okay. Anything else for anything else on Ocean Beach Park?
Okay, so I think the next one is talking about Moby Mats. Joe, so everybody that is not aware, Joe Brand is the commissioner for Parks and Recreations. So Joe, I need you to talk about the AD accessibility. I want Joe to speak up as the commissioner of Parks and Recreation. I asked John to step in to kind of mediate moving forward, but I do want people to be more talkative with Joe, since he is the commissioner and of Parks and Recreations, which includes the beach.
No problem. I mean, there's the graphic in front of you. I'll bore you with reading through it, and then any questions that I may be able to answer beyond that, between myself and Chief Gillespie, some of the finer points about accessibility and getting down to the shoreline. The city provides the ADA mats, or Moby mats as most everybody refers to them, at several beach openings in 2021. Those Moby mat access points will be Minnesota Avenue, New York Avenue, Lafayette Boulevard, Riverside Boulevard, and Neptune Boulevard. The city has all-terrain beach chairs available that are upon request at all beaches. In order to access one of those beach chairs, you would call lifeguard headquarters. The number's there, 431-1810. And a chair will be delivered by a lifeguard at the beach entrance. Okay, we'll get you down to an area of the beach where you're comfortable, and we'll help you out in whatever way we can. We still have 2 new chairs that were delivered at the end of last summer that I have in my possession at the rec. That was the result of a grant or a donation. We're looking forward to putting them into operation, and I can speak from experience and having witnessed the lifeguards in action when it comes to accommodating those with special needs. Chief Gillespie and his staff are above all when it comes to their time, their patience, and their ability to make people as comfortable as they can when it comes to utilizing our beaches. So they should be commended for it. It's a tremendous program, and obviously something that the Long Beach should be very proud of.
Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Joe, congratulations on the Commissioner of Parks and Recreation.
Thank you.
The one thing that I would love to see some data this summer as far as those individuals that we had requested the mobile chair that to get you down, because I remember seeing an individual, an elderly person, that somebody took a couple of pictures, and it was kind of like they found the fountain of youth. They were taken down to the beach, assisted, and it was amazing just to see the face. It was just like a newborn person. But I think it's also something that people in Long Beach are not aware of. But if that could be somehow maybe better marketed, communicated. And I know the mobile chairs, I think it was a donation by a family last year, and I think one of the requests were that it would be, or both of them, maintained at Neptune Boulevard. I don't remember if it was a mat or one of those chairs. Liz Treston may remember. But that's all I'd love to see now that the headquarters hopefully will be up and running, and they contact the lifeguard headquarters. I think it's a great public relations effort. And that's all I'd like to add on this. Thank you very much.
No problem. And I can collaborate with Paul at lifeguard headquarters as far as that data that you're looking for on use. And I'll also take it a step further and look into the question about Neptune Boulevard.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner.
You're welcome.
If we decide to go with a electronic beach pass like Yodel, is this perhaps for the beach chairs, the all-terrain beach chairs, as well as where Moby mats are located? Is that something that could be added onto the app as a note or something for those that have accessibility needs?
Yep.
The following beaches have Moby mats, and also here's how you could get an all-terrain beach chair.
We could tailor make the messages on the mobile app.
Okay, that's good. And then regarding the Moby mats, you're talking about extended Moby mat access. Is that are we going down to the potentially to the waterline, or are these still just like the two mats end to end?
I'll check with Tommy Canner and get back to you, John. I don't want to speak on his behalf. He'll be doing the installation.
Joe, you want me to jump in? Can you guys hear me?
Oh, there he is, the man himself.
Good evening, everyone. There's going to be, like Joe said, there'll be a few locations with the Moby mats. Minnesota Avenue, we had the bathroom put in last year, 2 years ago. I'm sorry. That one does go down to the tide line, just to the high tide mark. We run it all the way down, and then we make it into the shape of a T, so that if someone's in a wheelchair or somebody wants to sit on that mat, they're not blocking or obstructing the mat for other people to use it, so they can go either to the west or to the east and just sit there. The other ones, we usually put them at 100 feet. That's two mats. And a lot of people ask, why don't we get mats and put them all the way down to the water at every entrance? And the reason is, Joe and Chief Gillespie will tell you that people come here and they pay more money because we have a spotless beach, we have clean bathrooms, and we have showers. That's what everybody will tell you. And in order to maintain that cleanliness, if anybody doesn't know, we have two surf rakes. That's the machine you see going down, cleaning up the beach, and we have a sifter. So if we put the mats all the way down to the water, we have to continuously run them over. So you're dragging garbage over it, you're damaging the mat, and that heavy equipment running the mat over, for anybody who is in a wheelchair or anybody that's using a walker, you're creating a divot. You're creating a problem for that person where they wouldn't be able to use the mat. So it's kind of like it's a catch-22, the 100 feet that allows us to go around the mat with the machines. If we were to put those mats all the way out, it would be labor intense. We'd have to have a crew of people pretty much on a daily basis to pull those mats up and roll them up. And as much as people that sell them to us will tell you how easy it is to roll it up, it's not. It's pretty. It's not rocket science, but you need to have a little muscle to pull out it's like a giant staple that puts it into the ground and keeps it stationary, and you have to roll it up. So there's like 6 of those. You need a little muscle. You need somebody who knows how to do it and how to put it back down. So that's the reason that we don't put them at every entrance.
Okay.
Liz, they're also not required at every entrance.
This is true. We do put them at, obviously we put them where, where we feel the end of the boardwalk, the beginning of the boardwalk, New York, the end of the boardwalk, whichever way you want to look at it. And then we try to spread them out. We have a bathroom at each location. Lafayette, we have Minnesota, Riverside. All of these locations have a bathroom that's ADA compliant with the ramp to get onto the boardwalk and onto the beach. So we try to spread them out where it's, you maybe have three or four beaches in between each mat. So that's the thinking behind it.
Tommy, do you know how many mats we actually have in stock, or however the word?
I want to say 28 to 30. A lot of them are old. We have a few new ones, but a lot of them are old. It's almost like a thick fishing line that's weaved together.
No,
So,
I know exactly what they look and feel like, but I'm just looking because it says Moby mats, and that's a brand. I don't know if all of our mats are from that company, and I don't know if it's a legal thing, if we call them Moby mats when they're not Moby mats. I'm just curious.
yeah, I think most of them, 90% of them, we did purchase from the Moby Mat company. We try to put, obviously put the best ones out, but we should probably look into buying new ones because, like I was saying, it's like a fishing line that's weaved together, and the ends just over time from people, the wear and tear, they start to fray, and especially going over it with the vehicles because
And then when your kids walk on them, they hurt on your feet because they're little things.
And it's dangerous if you're walking across the mat. If you're going across the mat runs, north and south. If you're walking east and west, and you catch that string, it's dangerous. It's a tripping hazard, and it could cut you. So we try to maintain the best we can. But one of the biggest problems we have is our emergency lane. Chief Gillespie will tell you, it's from the back of the beach, the northern side of the beach, from when you come on to the walkway, and it goes out about 40 feet. So we have no choice but to run them over every day with our maintenance vehicles and with the lifeguard vehicles. So it definitely puts a lot of wear and tear on them.
Tom, we had looked at, not when I was on the council, other people were looking into the possibility of the mats where it looks like a rollout tarp, like you would roll them out and roll it back up. But I think that their description of that type of product would not work on the beach here because the ones, the Moby mats that we have are pretty much stapled in certain sections, and they're almost, they're maintained, and the mats are overnight, 24 hours. They're not pulled up for the whole season.
That's correct. I can't tell you the name of the company, but we actually had a young lady come down and do a demo, and it looked great on the brochure.
Right.
And they failed to mention that the roller that we would use every day, that was just a mere cost of $3,500 a piece, and then you had to leave that on the beach and, chain it up. But those mats, it was the same thing. It was a 50-foot mat, or you can custom tailor it no more than 100 feet. So, but you still had to staple it down. So you had to, and then we asked the young lady, said, "All right, just show me how it works." She couldn't do it. She couldn't roll it out.
Okay.
It was pretty bad.
Right, because there was an organization that would have was thinking of possibly donating one of those rollers on the beach. And I think, to your point, rolling out is one thing, but dealing with the maintenance, you have to be. It's like weightlifting, I guess. You have a lot of heavy mats that you'd have to pull up and roll out if you did it on a daily basis.
Yeah, and to be honest, Mike, we would never use it just based on, and we had our guys, because, the sand gets in it, it's heavy. we had our guys, some young, strong guys like trying to do it. And, we had a few people there. Chief Gillespie was there. We had a few people that would actually be doing it. And one of the ideas was to have the special officers take care of it. But it's not fair to them, and it's definitely labor intense. If we were to get, even if we were to buy from any company and get them custom made instead of a 50-foot piece, rolling up a 100-foot mat, now you're taking away the ability for somebody to pick it up and put it in a pickup truck. Now it becomes so cumbersome and heavy, you need a machine to move it.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
All right. What time is it? All right, we got other stuff to get to. We're an hour and
You want to go to the next slide?
40 minutes in. So why don't we? Thanks, Tommy, and
Tommy, you're here with me. So
Yes.
the beach maintenance discussion. I talked to a couple of the surfers, and one of their ideas was to paint the jetties, keeping people off the jetties, the bone cross. Say do not enter or do not walk on these jetties. And I talked to Chief Gillespie and I talked to Tommy Canner, and we all thought it was a really good idea. And Tommy said that he could paint the jetties, and hopefully that will let people see, especially the ones after the lifeguards leave, that they will see that they're not supposed to be on the jetties, because sometimes just telling them that on a regular basis doesn't seem to be helping as much. And so this was an idea from the surfers. And then the update on the boardwalk and the benches, we're still trying to look at the what we can do for the benches on the boardwalk, and what we can do with the long list of people that wants to purchase benches. So we're still working on that. So that's really our update. But if you have any questions, it would be about painting the jetties.
I guess the question I would have is, obviously it would have to be some kind of marine grade paint like you would use on a ship or something. But can you paint the rock? I mean, the waves, how long would paint last on a jetty with the waves and stuff?
It's John. I talked to Donna about that. We would do exactly that. What I'm thinking is get, something like a marine grade yellow, something they like at the bottom of boats with. Yeah. We'd have to, sand down a jetty, probably with the grinder, and maybe, put stencil, like Donna said. You could put the skull and crossbones. That's a great idea. And put, do not enter. And maybe we paint the line. We paint like a 6-inch wide line across some of those flat jetties. I've talked about it with Chief Gillespie and Joe Brand before. And even if it lasts, whatever lasts, if it lasts a month, we'll have to look and see. Obviously, it's going to depend on the wave action, because it's like you're wet sanding it.
Right.
And it would definitely be something I'm thinking we're going to have to touch up at least maybe once or twice a summer. But we have enough people to do it, so it's worth a try, because those signs, they're all the way up. They're all the way up where you can actually walk onto the jetties from the beach. So if somebody climbs up, we all know if they're, south of the sign and they climb up on the jetties, it's, then they don't read it. And they're kind of low, because if we do put it up high, the waves are going to break it. So I think by painting it, it's going to really pop out at you, because no matter what you do, if you're walking on those rocks, you have to look down. You have to look down and see where you're stepping. So you're going to see that paint. You're going to see that marking.
Tom?
Yes, sir.
On the jetties, you have the western side and the eastern side. The western side of the jetty is so much sand has been removed, but the eastern side of the jetty could be 50, 60, 70 feet further out. So you could walk from the east to the west, hit a jetty, and if you think you're going to straight over, you're going to drop about 15 feet down. So you have to walk all the way north. Wouldn't it be, in addition to what was just described, better to put a stay off the jetty, $500 fine or whatever, further out onto the jetty?
We can definitely do that, because each year, as like just to your point, the sand builds up on the east side, so we could do that. We can see where wherever the sand is, that people could freely walk up, we could put signs right there and a little bit further out. We can definitely do that.
You know where I think Chief Gillespie knows, and people could probably walk onto the jetty from one side and not even know that there was a sign.
Yes, 100%.
Okay, thanks, Tom.
You got it.
All right.
The next one is, excuse me, can you, yes, thanks. That's Commissioner Walsh.
Sorry about that. Couldn't find my mouse. Hello, everybody. With regard to summer specials, the department is starting its recruitment. We've already posted on our social media webpage on Facebook. Starting next week, we're actually going to be having one of our specials going to the area colleges and doing recruitment. We're also going to put signs up in the City Hall lobby at the front of headquarters. And Rich and I were talking today about having our officers going into local area stores, making sure that we can put them up on like whatever community bulletin boards and stuff like that. In general, we're looking for between 25 and 35 specials for the year. Our magic number, I'm told, is 30, where we really want to get to. So the recruitment is on. If anybody knows anybody, have them come in and apply. We're looking for a few good men and women. How's that? The beach and boardwalk hours, a little bit of a discussion on that. I am assuming that we should start the season with regular beach hours. We can evaluate that as we go on. If we have conditions that warrant some sort of a change, or if COVID goes up or goes away, whatever, however the winds take us, so to speak, I think we should be a little bit more malleable and nimble about this, try and create as much normalcy as we can. But any feedback with that regard from anybody here will be taken into consideration. So.
Just a quick question, Ron. We had talked about previously, kind of related to the specials, potentially deputizing the auxiliary police as well to help with parking control and things like that. Is that something we could maybe put in the list of things to be considered, for enforcement purposes?
So it's been a topic of discussion amongst myself and the supervisors there. I think in general, the way we utilize our volunteers has been, for special events and for patrols that they wish to do themselves. I don't know that there's much interest on the part of any one of the auxiliaries to go out there and be assigned certain hours and things like that. They're volunteers. I think with the addition of our summer specials, we should be in fairly good shape. However, I have not had the opportunity as of yet to meet with the chief over at the auxiliary police. That's something I plan on doing within the next week or two, to reach out to him. It's been a busy time for me, as you guys are well aware. But I'll talk to him about it. I'll see what his feelings are. Sometimes if you overburden the volunteer, they become less of a volunteer. And, so it's something that I'd be open to discuss with them and work out something with them. I'm open to anything that we can do to, number one, increase our productivity, but also increase people's feeling of community here. The last thing I did want to just mention about the Ocean Beach Park is we've been getting some great feedback. We have dramatically stepped up our patrols on the boardwalk, our patrols on the beach. We are issuing a lot of dog summonses for people on the beach. We are really stepping up our code enforcement, our parking up and around the Ocean Beach Park area and stuff. We're trying to set the tone from the beginning that we are out there, we're paying attention, and the days of, oh, please don't do this, are going to be gone. We really need people to understand that we're trying to keep this city beautiful. We don't want our beaches and our boardwalk to look the way it did right after the snow melted. We got a lot of complaints about a lot of people who use the basically use the boardwalk as a kennel, which was really very unsanitary. So we've done a lot of work there. We're getting a lot of positive feedback, and we look forward to providing the service that the city's looking for.
Okay. Anybody got any questions for the commissioner on those?
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
I want to ask your pleasure. So, Ina is prepared to go over the beach park revenues for 2020. However, we also have to come back to do a financial analysis, a profit and loss statement to show the revenues, and we're looking at 19 and we're looking at 20 as well. So would you prefer that we do it all together, since it's like 8:48, do it all together, or do you just want to hear the revenues? Because when we do profit and loss, we're going to repeat what we're saying tonight.
I would say my inclination would be, if we only talk about revenues, we're only getting half the story. So it may make more sense to when she has the actual P&L analysis done, so we get the whole picture.
Yes, because we are going to ask the council to make some decisions based on the beach fees. Now, Ina had prepared, so we did have a presentation for you, but we were looking for some additional information, and we need to verify the information that we received. We don't want to put that information out there and find out that it wasn't quite what we thought it was. And so that's why we weren't prepared, and it was a last minute thing that we realized we needed to do some more digging.
Okay. So what? That's just my personal opinion, but
This is Liz. I agree with Mr. Bendo, but we should have the whole picture and we can do it again.
This is Scott. I agree. I'd rather not do it piecemeal.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I thought I was muted by the host. After 2 hours of meetings, I don't think it's the proper time to analyze beach revenues and expenses.
That's why I love working with you guys. I feel the same way. So Donna, will we put it on a next work session or a special meeting? I mean, how?
You know what? We'll do a work session. It needs to be a work session first, so we can talk through it. It will be a work session coming up fairly quickly after the council meeting, and then we'll move forward from there.
Like my fellow council members, I totally agree with them.
Okay.
So that the council, that everyone knows that we'll have a couple of working meetings this month, in the next few weeks. I would say in the next 2 weeks, and we'll probably have another after the council meeting. We'll have another special meeting to discuss some of the things that we need to make sure that needs to be passed, because the budget is due to you all on April 10th, and our time is winding down. And so we need to make sure that we're all on the same page on any contracts or any expenditures moving forward for the next budget year.
Yeah, that's why it's probably even more important to get the whole picture with the expenses and the revenues, not just half of it, because like I said, like you said, we got the budget being worked on, so we need the whole picture. So, all right, is there anything else then we need to go through? All right. Well, that being said, I guess.
Birthday to Mrs. Bendo.
What's that?
Happy birthday to Mrs. Bendo.
Oh, okay. I'll pass that along. But all right. Well, unless anyone else has anything, I guess we'll call it quits, and Karen can go watch Dancing with the Stars or whatever on tonight.
It's not on anymore.
What's that?
It's not on anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever. What's the Masked Singer? I don't know. I don't know. Watch any of these shows.
I'm really, John. I'm watching Vikings right now. Come on.
Oh, all right, there you go. Vikings is good.
Really? Really, John? I also just want to thank Donna and the entire staff. What a great working session. I really feel informed. Like I know what I need to study, what I'm learning, and that's through a tremendous effort of all of you. So keep great work, and please keep up the great work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, folks, for joining us, and thanks, guys, for.